Hello and welcome to Glitch Cube. We're a gaming podcast, and each week we take a deeper look into the art of video games. As always, I'm Christian.
And I'm Chris.
And welcome back, everybody. Thank you guys for joining us once again as we dive further into the world of games. So this week, what are we going to be doing? What are we talking about? We got a couple different things that we want to chat about. There's some games that we're playing through, of course. I mean, come on. It's a gaming channel. What did you expect of us? But then we also have a concept that we want to talk about, the whole idea of replayability. There's a lot of remasters and remakes and things like that coming out. There's a lot of games that are following the same trend of roguelites and just constantly having you come back and re-explore the game. But we're going to dive a little further into that topic a little later into this episode. So why don't we start off with what we're playing right now, give everybody a little update and get that out of the way, and then we'll be talking about our little concept for the show today. So what do you got this week? What are you playing right now, man?
Ooh, I'm going to jump in everywhere. I will save some of it for the next kind of update we do because I'm far enough in them, but I want to talk about when I beat them. But as a little sneak peek for the next update, The Bouncer, probably more Blueprints. I've been kind of jumping between those two as of right now. And also I've been getting into Schedule 1 with my wife, playing the hell out of that, dude. We're loving that game. It's just.
Nice.
It's dumb. It's comfy, right? You're a drug dealer. You're growing weed, and then you move on to like coke and speed. But like, it's just goofy, right? Because it's like you start out in a motel, and you're making your grows. You're finding dealers, making them do the work for you, and you're like, there's a curfew in this town, right? So from 9 p.m. to 5 a.m., police roam the streets.
Yeah.
And if you're caught in curfew, you get in trouble. But if you're on the streets, you get random body searches and stuff like that. Like it's entertaining, right? Like it's simple in a lot of ways. It kind of looks like an early Adult Swim kind of animation because the characters look so goofy looking.
Mm-hmm.
But it's enjoyable, like these kind of like dumb social games. I've grown to like them, and this one is just goofy enough and surprisingly like detailed in a lot of ways, because in sim games sometimes they do automate things, but like say you want to fill up your water, you have to go to the faucet, hit the faucet head, it fills, you have to hold it so it pours water in your can, then you take the can to the plant, and then you gotta tip it with the A or D, and at the same time, like holding it and drop it on certain spots. Like it's almost a little too much at times because it's not fast enough, but you do get things later to automate some of that stuff. So it's not too bad once you get to that point, but it's just a fun little time waster. Like we always try to find some game we can play together. And for a minute there, it was Fortnite. We were really enjoying it. I heard Fortnite is getting Darth Jar Jar Binks, so I might be jumping in the Fortnite for that.
Okay.
I know. I was like, what? Jar Jar's Sith now? Like, that's crazy. But
is that going to be in the new update? Is that canon now? Because they have all the Star Wars
It's a new
stuff
battle pass. Yeah. I guess May 2nd, they're dropping a whole Star Wars thing.
Okay.
And I know there's a bunch of new Star Wars stuff that got announced. Like, there's that Starfighter movie with Ryan Gosling that I think is coming out this year. Maybe it's next year. I forget. There's a bunch of other stuff. I've been kind of checked out of Star Wars just because it's just been, like Marvel content overload, and I got kind of sick of it. Ending. But I do want to check out a new season of Andor, even though I never finished the first season. So trying to work on that right now. And Schedule 1. But the game I really wanted to talk about before I lead into the game that also kind of leads into our topic later, but I'll do that after you talk about yours. I beat Promise Mascot Agency.
Oh, nice.
And a couple weeks back during the last Next Fest, they had put a demo out for this game, and I was kind of interested in it because like people that did previews were like, "Oh, this is like a Yakuza kind of like mini game." And I was like, "Okay, like you kind of sold me just on that."
Mm-hmm.
I really like the demo, right? Most of it, you're driving around in one of those little K trucks that are big in Japan. And the premise of the story is you're an ex-Yakuza, like, enforcer. You get sent to this small town because you botched a deal. And you're running this mascot agency. And it's like washed out mascots, right? Like your main head person is a severed pinky. And the first mascot you recruit is a crying block of tofu.
I still
And
can't get over that.
it's goofy stuff like that. It's awesome. And there's like a cat in a business suit, and there's like a ton of mascots, and then you send them on jobs. So it's like, they're going to work on a commercial for this adult video or adult store. And it's like these mascots will run into a problem on the set. And like the first thing with the tofu, it's like they get stuck in a door because they're so big. And it's like tofu versus normal size door. And in order to beat the door, you get these random cards. So hero cards are these things you get from people you either do quests for or you find them, and they have stats, right? It's like this one will use 1 turn. It'll give you cards, or it'll give you an extra turn, and it also does damage. And certain enemies that you fight in these jobs, there's like 4 different types, and some of these cards are better for that. Now, the cards you get, like, they'll all show up eventually if you're able to draw all the cards. It's not like you have to make a deck; they just show up.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, it's like luck of the draw. You want to power up cards enough where you can keep drawing cards. That way, it's pretty easy. I think I only lost maybe like 3 the whole game, but it is surprisingly not as bad as I thought it would be, because I was a little worried about those jobs taking me out of the game. Because it's open world. Like you drive around this whole island, and I was thinking, oh no, if I'm gonna have to help these heroes or mascots, it would ruin that kind of like motivation or drive that I'm doing at the moment. But it didn't always happen, and you can use items to kind of reduce the possibility of having to help them. So that was kind of nice. And it's a good game if you're a person like me who is a sicko for like collectathons and seeing meters fill up, because this game has a lot of things to collect. It has a bunch of meters that you can fill up, and there's just a lot to do. Like, as you're getting jobs, you notice these old rundown buildings in this town become a new shop. And I loved it because I would just, sometimes I would just drive around this town or this island, and now there's bustling life. Like there's these stores, like you can't go in them, but the jobs you send your mascots to do, like they do it for those jobs. So it creates this kind of like life to this island that felt so dead. And that was the whole point, because you came to this city and they kind of called it the city of death because nothing comes out of it. And the whole premise is like you're trying to raise this money to pay back. And there's a whole lot more to the story that I don't want to get into for spoilers, but it kind of surprised me. It went in ways I didn't think, and in a good way. I was like, oh, this is very different. It's not as boring of a story as I was like worried it would be, but it's also from the people that did Paradise Killer. So I kind of expected a decent to good story, because that game had a pretty good story too. And this game was addicting. Like I platinumed it. I did everything in it. It didn't take long. I think it was like maybe 14 hours at most, and saw basically everything. And yeah, there's just a lot to do. Like it's interesting because you look at the task bar or the task menu, and you see just like a whole list of things to do and collect, and you're like, oh my god, like how am I going to find time for that? But you kind of do, because for me, I really blew off the main story and did all this side stuff. So by the time I finished all this side stuff, I was like, oh, there's probably not much of the game left. But I realized, oh, I was only a couple missions in. Like, I was just enough missions in on the main story to be able to do everything else for the most part. And the upgrades to your truck you get make collecting and doing anything like just so much easier. There's some really fun upgrades to your truck, and it's just a really enjoyable place to explore. Like, I loved just going in first person mode, watching the sunset, because the changing of times actually looks really nice in this game. Like, it's not the most graphically impressive game, but it has that kind of late PlayStation 2 soft graphics look to it, but it's like kind of nice and crisp. And it was just a joy to drive around. Like, I enjoyed this game a lot more than I thought I would. And I think the only thing, and I mean, this is just me being insane. Like, it has enough, but I want more. Like, I wanted more upgrades. And like, it'd be cool if like, oh, you know, you beat the game. Now here's all these extra jobs and you can make all these buildings like revitalized and all this. And it's like, it's unnecessary because, I mean, everything concluded perfectly. And I feel like you get just enough content before it gets too much. And yeah, I really like this game a lot. You know, it's not going to be my game of the year, but I think that it's, you know, it's at least in the top 10 for now, right? I know there's some heavy hitters coming out, but for right now, I thoroughly enjoyed this game way more than I thought I would.
Nice. Yeah, I keep seeing it pop up on the Steam store. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. That's the one Chris was talking about. I wouldn't be surprised if like some DLC comes out or like some continuation of the story, so people who want more can get more, right? Like, but it just looks so goofy and weird. It's just strange. I might have to check that one out for sure. But yeah, it's just it looks so ridiculous. The severed pinky thing, man. It's so weird.
That's like a fever dream, dude. It's like, it's just odd. Like, it's weird and wacky in a way like a Yakuza game is, but it almost goes past that. Like, sometimes it's just almost a little too wacky, but I don't know. It works. Like, everything about it, like, sometimes it seems cringe, but at the same time, it works for the characters. I don't know. Like, they pulled some stuff off in that game that I was very surprised that they could.
Oh yeah. All right. So before we get into the game that leads into like the whole topic of replayability and all that good stuff, quick little update for me. I've been playing just a couple titles, something a little light in between. I'm trying not to get too invested or start a really long game right now because we have something right around the corner, just like 4 days away. And I'm very excited for that one, and we'll definitely have an episode about it. But I was browsing through Game Pass and I found Gears 5, and I was like, you know what? I really enjoyed the Gears games. They're fun. Like, it's a perfect, like, turn your brain off and just shoot and fire. And I was trying to, like, really remember the story. And I remember there being, like, a decent story to the Gears games, which is kind of funny because when you look at these characters, they just look like, you know, like cheesy 80s action heroes, right? You think like Predator, where it's just like big buff dudes with guns shooting stuff, and it's awesome. I mean, right? Like, it's just fun. Who cares, right? So picked up Gears 5, and I was actually pleasantly surprised. The story in there is pretty involved. There's a lot going on. It definitely is a continuation of Gears 4, which I now really want to play through. I'm kind of going backwards and just jumping around in the series because why not? But it's pretty cool to see things like progressing. And what I really like about Gears 5 is that it had all like a lot of the characters from throughout the whole franchise, just older now, right? Like you have your Cole, you have your
Hmm.
Marcus Phoenix and all that. And it almost felt like getting like the boys back together, like for the final fight. And it was just so awesome seeing everyone getting involved. You have the old generation with the new generation. You have all these different factions working together for one centralized goal. And it was really cool seeing that and seeing like these people that you start with in the original Gears games, moving up in the ranks as well, getting more responsibility, more pull, more weight, right? Like, I don't know. There's something really nice about that. But the ending to it was such a cliffhanger. I'm like, oh God, right? Like, and I'm the one thing that kind of like bugged me was they only like the whole game you're just kind of running around, you're doing anything, it's fetch quest after fetch quest, right? And there's a little bit of an open world aspect, which was actually very enjoyable. I did like that a lot because I liked exploring the areas, and they have the little mini challenges in each area before you got an upgrade. But they did something at the very end where you have to make a basically game breaking choice, right? Where it completely changes the last bit of the game. Like it changes reactions and all that stuff. And it was the only time where they give you a pretty big choice to make that will alter the game. I'm like, oh, they should have done this more. Like that would have been really fascinating if they did that. I'm trying. I don't know why I'm trying to avoid spoilers so much from a game that's probably been out for a little while, but it's definitely worth playing. I really enjoy the campaign. I know that it was really pretty popular as far as like the multiplayer aspect of it. And I was looking at the achievements and I thought it was kind of funny that most people have not actually got the achievement for completing all the acts. I think it was only like 28% people actually have played through the full campaign of Gears 5, which is kind of insane because that game was like a game of the year winner. Winner was a contender. I don't remember. But like
It was, yeah, I think it was a contender, but it was like I remember people like praised it, but I never met anyone that ever played it. It was
yeah.
weird.
It's super crazy to think that like if this thing was a contender for game of the year, but only like 28% of people have actually gotten the achievement for completing all the acts in the game, which I thought was really funny. I was like, that's so bizarre because the story is actually very enjoyable, right? But it means that the multiplayer is probably really, really good too. So that's one that I'm playing through. And then just like a little spoiler for next update is just finish up the Doom Guy book. It's John Romero's book. Amazing book right there. It's kind of a reaction to Masters of Doom, which is another fantastic title. If you're really into game development and into just the history of gaming in general, I mean, John Romero and John Carmack of id Software made gaming. There's so many terms and ideas and things that came from them because of the work that they did. I mean, even as something as simple as the idea of calling it a game engine, that they basically coined that term as well. So from deathmatch to game engine to all this stuff, they're the ones that are responsible for this. So definitely recommend checking out Doom Guy. It's great if you've read Masters of Doom because it's now from Romero's perspective. And he kind of clears the air on some of the things, right? Because Masters of Doom is written by an outsider based off of interviews, and you can tell some things might have got a little blown out of proportion. So Romero kind of like reels it back in a little bit, and you get like a little bit more of the full story there, which I thought was really fascinating. So I'm picking up Doom Eternal to try out next, but I'm excited to talk about that soon. But the other quick little game that I've been playing, it's been on my radar for a few weeks now, and I was worried about playing it, and now I have, and I'm like, damn it. And I really wish that this was on a like mobile or handheld or something like that, because I feel like it would be perfect for it. But that's Ballionaire. Ballionaire is this weird little like pachinko game in which you put down little icons that do different things, right? So you can have carryballs, you can have explosions, you can have all that. They usually will like spawn another ball as you're dropping yours, and then you can create chain reactions, and it just gets crazy chaotic, and you're trying to just get a bunch of points and stuff like that. But I've unlocked some like cool little spells in there too. There's spells and stuff, which is awesome. So like they are firing off like crazy. There's like I really like the builds right now where you can put down basically enemies where they have a health, and every time you hit them with the ball, then you start chipping with their health, and then they do a reaction based off of that. So there's like the bomb goblins where if you do that, then they basically explode and fire out like 5 fireballs, which there are different types of balls as well. There's water, fire, and there's eggs that you can drop too, right? So like if you bump a chicken, it drops an egg, and you can kind of synergize that with other pieces like an egg carton. So like if an egg hits an egg carton, it stores it, and then whenever it gets 12, then something happens, right? Like there's a lot of really interesting synergies in this game, and it's a lot more like deep and involved than I expected, because it just looks really like silly and fun and just kind of very lighthearted. But this game is fantastic, and it really reminds me. It's like Balatro vibes, right? Because you can tell that there's a lot of hidden synergies that you don't know about. Like, oh, I found one that was really interesting. So there's a house plant that you can put down. Whenever you bump it, you get $800, right? But if you bump it with an egg ball, then you actually get an egg plant that showed up on the screen. I was like, what was that? And then during one of my drafts, I was able to basically get like King Eggplant, which is this whole thing. So if you hit him with an eggplant ball, then he gets something happens there. So there's like hidden synergies in this game. And it's just a lot of fun to kind of explore that and dive into it. So definitely recommend that one if you're looking for something a little bit more casual. It is only on Steam right now. If this was on Switch, holy crap. Or if this was just like, I'm sure it plays great on a Steam Deck if you have it. But I feel like this is a handheld game. And if it was, this would be like bigger than Balatro because it's more simple, but has like more interesting synergies, I guess, right? Like the Joker system was really good in Balatro, but I like these quick, like little hidden rounds, and it feels like a little bit faster too, right? So I could see this being huge, especially if it gets picked up and available on handheld. But damn, it's so good. Like you have to try this game. It's on sale right now too, guys. Like the sale's about 10. It's $9. Totally worth it. Totally worth it.
I like those kind of like Plinko games and stuff. And I was keeping an eye on this game because I was thinking, oh, that or Peglin. And
I prefer this to Peglin.
I still haven't decided.
I played both.
Yeah. I ended up getting Nubby's Number Factory, so I was like, oh, I'm kind of happy with that. It kind of scratches that itch, but I like the way Billionaire looks just because there's a lot more going on with it. So
it's just,
I'm gonna have to check it out. But like you said,
insane.
Like it looks like a better handheld game, which my Steam Deck would be good with it. But yeah, I'm like, man, that'd be perfect for the Switch.
Dude, if you could just take that and go with you, because until you drop the ball, like you don't really have to do anything. So like you can totally do other stuff. Like I want to play this game more, but I have to like go sit at my computer. And it feels weird doing that, right? I'm like, I want to, like, I have another laptop. I could just bust that up too, but it feels weird going back and forth. I'm like, that's ridiculous, right? So it'd be nice to just have this as like a little handheld to put off to the side every once in a while. But oh man, it's so good. I love the art. The art is fantastic. It's so cute and adorable. But yeah, definitely, if you're looking for something a little simple, a little bit more casual in between things, this is a great one. It's so good.
All
right. So you want to lead into replayability?
Yeah.
Okay.
So there was a game that came out just from the recording 2 days ago. Well, I guess once this airs, 3 days ago. But the Lunar remaster came out.
Yeah.
And for anybody out there that's listened to this for a long time, you probably heard me mention this title at least once or twice. But it's a franchise that has meant a lot to me over the decades at this point. I don't know why. It's not like it's a amazing story, or it's not like something crazy, and it's not like a Final Fantasy VII or something like that. But to me, like, I don't know what it is. It just really sucked me in. I think it was because the anime, like portraits and cutscenes, and the story was very simple to follow and comfy. Like it felt like I was playing an anime, and I loved it. Both of them, and it was to the point where I would replay these games like maybe once a year, once every 2 years for years, like at least until after high school. I think right when I graduated high school, I stopped doing that. And it was always just kind of like a comfort going back to it, because these games don't have it doesn't have multiple endings. Like it's a one and done thing. You're not going to see anything different. There's no choices. It's just a clear cut path. But the game was just like comfort food to me. And it's still been that way. I mean, I haven't replayed it probably since '08. Before that maybe. And I picked up this remastered collection because I was like, I still have my old copies, so it's not like I'm missing them. But I picked up the remaster because I was like, it'd be kind of nice to get trophies for this, and it'd be nice to revisit it. And I was thinking of something the other day, and I realized maybe for the past decade or so, I had this like kind of thing in the back of my mind where I'm against replaying games. And when I say that, I mean games that don't have different endings, don't have different choices, not roguelikes, nothing like that. Like games that just have a story that nothing will change if you play it again. And I think a lot of games nowadays, they try to add some different, dialogue choices, stuff like that, so it gives the opportunity to play again. But, years before that didn't exist, right? I feel like not until the 360 era did we see that more in mass. But I, back in the day, used to replay games a lot. And I mean, for me, that was also because we just couldn't afford a lot of games at certain points. And, renting an RPG kind of sucks because beating it in a short amount of time, you're forcing yourself to finish fast, which sometimes isn't fun.
And we only had 5 days, right? Game rentals were expensive.
Yeah. And I've done it. I've rented RPGs and it worked, but I frowned upon that, But for me, nowadays, replaying games, in the back of my mind, I'm like, why am I doing this? I already know how this goes. I could be playing something else, something new, something I haven't played before. Like, there's no reason for me to replay something. Even with, multiple endings or different choices, like nowadays I'm more likely to save before the choice so I can instantly see it, or I just look up a YouTube video with all the different changes. And I don't really know why I've kind of changed my mind with this. I asked a few people like what they do, and they said the opposite. As they've gotten older, they're more comfortable replaying games because it's comforting to them, or it's something that they know and it's something they enjoy. And I don't know if maybe it's because like games are like probably my most favorite hobby, or something I'm more, devoted to than other hobbies. So it's like I want to experience everything and play everything and, see people's different ideas in different games. But with the Lunar games, I was looking at them like, do I want to replay these? Because, I mean, I've played them so many times. And granted, it has been long enough where I'm like, I know what the stories are, but replaying it now would feel like a good little refresher, and it is comfort. They came out when I was pretty young. I think these remasters because these are the PlayStation 1 versions, not the Sega CD ones. So it's like, I think they came out late 90s in that regard. So I was still pretty young. But, deep down, they're very basic RPGs. And I think a lot of people do like these games because they are nostalgic for them, because they're simple. The script is kind of... Working Designs was really weird with their scripts, where they would add a lot of pop culture references in there. Like they joke about Bill Clinton and Britney Spears
Weird.
in some of their games. So it's aged, but it's also kind of like a charm to it at this point. But it's weird because I think about it, I'm like, there are games I would like to replay, from my childhood. And it's not that I'm worried that if I replay them, like it's going to destroy my nostalgia for them. It's just, I'm not even looking at the backlog of games I own, but games that come out, I'm just sitting here like, why would I replay this when there's something new? Like right now, I'm like, do I want to start Lunar 1 when Claire Obscure comes out in a couple days? So I'm like, okay, maybe after Claire, I'll boot these up. But even then, I'm like, well, there's other games I want to play. Like, I have this kind of list I'm working on right now where it's like games I've always wanted to play that are, a lot of other people have played and talk about, but I always feel weird not having experience with them, which, a later episode, I'll get into that list because it has changed since the last time I brought this up. But yeah, I don't know. What about you? Do you replay games at all, like that don't change, or do you?
I was trying to think about that right now as you're talking to, and I feel like there's only a handful of games that I've replayed multiple times, especially the ones that have the same story throughout, right? And the ones that immediately come to mind are, Final Fantasy 7, 9, 10, and Shadow of the Colossus. Like those games I've played multiple times, but there's just something so comforting about them. Like, I feel like I've played and beaten 7 on every version that I could get my hands on. But when it came to, like, the remasters or remakes, I was kind of like, like, I want to keep 7 as it is, right? Like, there's something weird about that one. 9 is just a fantastic story because I absolutely love, like, Vivi and Zidane and all that, right? Like, I just love the style there. And 10 was like high school when I was really getting into gaming, and I played the hell out of 10, like a lot. But that was also due to the fact that we didn't have a lot of money and I couldn't get a lot of different games, right? But luckily 10 was just really good, so I was able to do that. And then Shadow of the Colossus is just, that's like comfort food for me, right? But for the most part, whenever I beat a game, I'm kind of done with it. I'm happy for that experience, and it is pretty funny whenever I think about that, because if I compare it to other forms of media like movies, I rewatch movies like crazy. Like if I get an itch and I want to watch Rocky, well, guess what? I'm watching all of them all over again, right? Like I need to go through the line. I can't just watch Rocky 4. I have to watch all of it because, it is what it is. Or something like Bloodsport. God, I don't even know how many times I've watched that damn movie. Like there's something about movies versus games where I can rewatch the same thing over and over and over again and still get maximum enjoyment out of it. It's like a different form of enjoyment now because I know it's coming. You can reset the lines. You're kind of more a part of the media. But with games, one thing I actually really prefer, and I'm kind of curious if this show has skewed my viewpoint on this, but I really enjoy playing games that pay homage to older titles. So I like seeing games that are inspired by other ones that I played in the past. So it kind of like scratches that itch of revisiting the title, but seeing it through modern eyes or with like minor tweaks or some sort of difference to see the evolution and growth of that genre, right? And I find that a lot more fascinating. And the games as a form of media for me I really love my story games, but I get the story and then I'm good. And I'm wondering if maybe it's because like a movie commitment is only like an hour and a half. Revisiting some of these games, that's like a week or two sometimes of just playing that one game. And it's like, okay, like I already know where this is going. Let me just grind through this real quick, right? And a lot of times whenever you want to revisit a game, let's say you're revisiting like Final Fantasy 9, you just want the story. You don't want to grind through all this stuff again, right? Like, you don't want to spin in circles
Mm-hmm.
for another 8 hours to level up before you fight, Seymour again, right? Like, it's one of those kind of things where you want to play the game, but you don't want to go through the grind again because you've already lived through that, right? And I feel like that's kind of my deterrent, where I'd rather just see the story played out in front of me, because that's really what I want, rather than revisiting and replaying the game itself. And it's very different from like roguelites and things like that, where it's just, you just jump into a different kind of run. It is what it is. But like, that's built into the system itself, because there's a sense of randomness to it, where you will get something different, or you can do a different kind of run. You can run a different deck, right? Like, there's all those little aspects. But like the games that have multiple endings, even like, let's say, for instance, one of the more recent ones, Baldur's Gate 3, right? I played through it once.
Mm-hmm.
I'm good. I don't really need to play through it again. I'm okay without playing through it again. Because I know a lot of people will play through games like that multiple times, force themselves to make different decisions. But I feel like the first time I played through it making the decisions that I wanted to make it the most fun. I don't want to have to play through it again, make decisions that I don't find that fun, just to see the minute differences in the gameplay, right? And potentially soil the experience for me. I'd rather just read an article or watch a quick little like tidbit of like, oh, this changes this outcome, right? Like, they have those available for you, right? There's other people that will play through something different, and they get maximum enjoyment out of playing that way, but I don't enjoy playing that way, right? Like, I don't want to go through and play that game where I'm killing everybody, because that just sounds annoying. Like, I played through it the way I wanted to, and I'm good, right? And I think that's my big thing about replayability, is I don't see myself making different choices just because, right? I think the first time I ran into this was with Fable, right? With Fable, you have the big decision at the end where you can do the good thing or the bad thing. And I was like, oh, that sounds so cool. And I started a second playthrough to just kind of do things differently. And I was like, you know what? I'm good. I know what's going to happen, so why do I need to do it all over again? I already played this game. There's this other one coming out that looks interesting. Let me just move on to that. And I just never went back to that. So I think that's my big thing, is I don't really foresee myself making different decisions. Or whenever it comes to like an RPG that I really enjoyed in the past, it's more for the story rather than the gameplay itself at that point. The only one that's different is Shadow of the Colossus. There's just something so nice about that game, but I think I really fell in love with that title and started replaying it more and more whenever I started going to school for game design itself, and looking at the different mechanics and actually studying the ebb and flow of that game and gaining an appreciation of what's going on behind the scenes, that became more fascinating than the actual gameplay itself, if that makes sense. So I think that's kind of where I'm at with replayability as like a concept for gaming. Plus there's too many games to play to go back and keep redoing the same thing over and over and over again. That seems kind of maddening. So I'd rather just see how the genre evolves over time. So
that's a good point. Baldur's Gate 3 is a really good example too, because I remember when I first played it, I'm like, I'm gonna do a Dark Urge playthrough, and I was playing through it, and I was like, this is awesome, but I'm like too evil. Like, I want to experience the story kind of like in a mixed way. So I restarted pretty early. I still need to finish it. I'm like, basically right before the big thing that happens in Act 3. I'm just finishing up all like the side missions there in the big city.
Right.
But for that, I was like thinking, man, this game, 1, is very long, and 2, the story for the most part is always going to reach the same spot, right? Like, you'll have different outcomes along the way. Granted, if you allow yourself to be a mind flayer, like, yeah, that would be different, but how much different? in a sense where it would warrant a whole playthrough. And I mean, for some people, yes, they want to experience that. They want to experience also the dark urge taking over. And it's like, that's awesome. And I'm happy it's there for people. But for me, it's like almost not enough. And I say this as someone who has replayed New Vegas enough to see all the endings and, play enough where it feels almost like a different game, even though the ending is kind of the same, depending how you go. Like, I think there's kind of like two really big differences, but, that was maybe the last big game that I really wanted to see every different ending were actually put in work rather than just a save file for it. But yeah, it's when it comes to like the remakes, that's when I'm more likely to replay a story, like the Final Fantasy VII remake and Rebirth. I at first was a little like, should I spend my time on this? I already know the story, but they changed enough stuff where it almost felt fresh. And I feel like that's maybe why they did it, was because you can play that game and you do know like the big outcomes, because the big outcomes don't change in the game. You still know everything that's going to happen, but there's small stuff in between those big points where it's like, oh, that wasn't in the original, and it kind of keeps you sucked in. And that's the hard part with a lot of these other remasters, is that most of them don't have any changes, right? You look at the Suikoden 1 and 2 remaster collection, and it's just the games. There's nothing new, blah, blah, blah. Square, with Saga Frontier 2 that just came out, and the first one, both those remasters, they actually added stuff that weren't in the original release, right? So the first Saga Frontier remaster, they had the whole extra character that wasn't in the original game. I think it was in the Japanese version. So you had new content in this. And Saga Frontier 2, I guess it has like more quest lines that weren't in the original. And that is where I'm like, okay, I'd be willing to almost replay those games just to see that. But also at the same time, when it comes to RPGs, like you were saying, the time devotion to it, where it's like, okay, if it's just maybe an extra new 4 hours of story, am I willing to sit through another 40 hours just to get to it? Like,
is it going to change
it's hard to
the
justify
ending at all, right? Like that,
exactly.
You can get another 4 hours, but there's a reason why that was removed in the first place, right? Like, it could even mess up the pacing, honestly.
And that's like, for me, with RPGs, it's like, even though it's my favorite genre, it's the hardest for me to be, okay, I want to replay something because they take so much time, right? Like, I'd be willing to replay, Devil May Cry or something that's kind of short and sweet.
Yeah.
But it's hard when it's a longer game. And do I feel like I'm at that point where a lot of these older people I know say they're comfortable with replaying? No, but I mean, I get it. There's times where I do want to sit back and be like, you know what, I'm going to play this game I'm comfortable with. Let's do it. The game that always comes into the back of my mind is like the old Harvest Moon games, right? 64, Back to Nature. I'm like, those games, I spent a lot of time, over hundreds of hours in them back in the day when I was a kid. Yes, they've made new games in that series that I have not touched, but there's something comforting about those older games. But I keep telling myself, I'm going to buy the new one instead. And I did. A few years ago, I bought that one, Story of Seasons, Pioneer Town, Olive Town, whatever it was called. Played it for like 2 hours and got sucked into something else, right? And I, the upcoming one, the Grand Bazaar that's coming out, I was like, you know what? I think it's time I finally get back into one of these kind of games. So I gonna probably pick it up. And I'm realizing, like you said, I want to see the evolution of these genres. And there's nothing wrong with going back and experiencing like a lot of these older games that we've already played. But it is nice seeing the evolutions in the genres. Now we can put more stuff in to games. We can make games look different than what they were. And
or the quality of life stuff that gets added in too. That's huge now. that we definitely take for
Yes.
granted that we fought through, right? Like I'm thinking the Resident Evil like remakes and remasters, like those are
Mm-hmm.
fantastic, right? But looking back at the original Resident Evil, it's like, man, I really fought those tank controls, and I don't know if I can actually play those games again and still have that same
Yep.
enjoyment, right? So, like when it comes to something like that, that's interesting. That's an evolution. That's a change, but it still captures the same essence of the original playthrough, right? And it feels more
Mm-hmm.
of like a conservation effort to make sure that people still enjoy the franchise and know where things are coming from, right? Opposed to it just here's the same thing. It just looks prettier. Yeah, enjoy tank controls. It's like, well, that sucks. Nobody really enjoys those
Yeah.
controls. It's kind of like the running joke. But it's one of those things where you see you can still capture the essence of the game and modernize it. And I appreciate that. And to me, that's when replaying a game is worth it, when they can kind of modernize things. Like the Final Fantasy VII
Mm-hmm.
remakes, that's interesting, right? Because that's something different. But it still captures the same soul of the game, but it gives you some more content. It makes it a little bit more modern. It makes it fit into where we're at now for gaming, right? And that to me is a little bit more interesting. That's whenever I'm a little bit more excited to play through something rather than it just being a reskin, especially something that I've played countless times as a kid. I don't know. It just kind of like takes away the enjoyment a little bit.
Yeah. That reskinning is nice. I think I'm thinking back now, and I think the last game I did this with was Dragon Warrior 7. One of my favorite games on the PlayStation. Probably the one game I have the most hours on back in the day. I know I've talked about it before, but I picked it up for the 3DS a few years back, and it's different on there, right? Instead of that sprite on a 3D world, it's like 3D.
Mhm.
Like the models are in 3D models, and the world is 3D. Like it's different. It's a little cleaned up. It looks like Dragon Warrior 9 in a way that it looks more modernized. Yeah, they cut out a lot of the first like 4 hours of the game because it's like, nonsense that doesn't need to be there. And they cleaned it up where it's not so much of a drag, right? Like I think in my original playthrough, I had over probably 300 hours, maybe 400 hours doing all the classes and stuff like that. But a lot of it was unnecessary BS.
Right.
And when I played the 3DS version, a lot of it was cut out. And there weren't a whole lot of changes. I feel like there was maybe one or two story changes in it, but for the most part, it was the same game, just with a ton of quality of life.
Mhm.
And seeing as that was one of my favorite games of that time, it felt good. It felt good to replay that game, and it felt good to replay it without spending 500 hours in it, right?
Mhm.
I was able to beat it in a timely manner because it is a very long game, but it was cool seeing you can take this game, spruce it up, make it easier in a sense where it's, not wasting your time. And I think the one benefit of playing these remastered games is, you can speed up battles. You can,
Mhm.
save state in some of them. And it's a nice feature because, I mean, when you're grinding, like, yeah, you can easily watch something on your phone while you do it or listen to something, but why not just 2 times it, 4 times it? And it's just a nice feature. And it's something I'm kind of warming up to with these remasters because it's like, oh, it's really nice to be able to speed this up or give yourself extra experience on top of everything else. And I don't know. I feel like I've been playing a lot of these kind of like remakes and stuff, and I like where they're going now with it, right? With these changes to it and adding more and making it more quality of life focused. And I think a lot of these older games need that. I think there's some amazing games, even from 20 years ago that are either locked to old platforms or weren't they're not friendly in today's standards,
Mhm.
right? Back then we dealt with it, but now they're not. It'd be nice if a lot of those older games could be touched up for more people to experience, because it's sad when you think about, people's lives work just stuck in the past, and not everyone can enjoy it. And, and there would be people that would enjoy it if they could play it, or if it was a little bit easier to play. And, hopefully in time to come, we'll see more of that. Hopefully not in the way that Microsoft wants with the whole AI optimizing things, because then we're just going to get, see-through walls and people speaking weird, nonsensical language. But I don't know.
That's I
hope Square Enix does more of their crazy remakes for stuff. And yeah, I don't know. Exploring a lot of the older games, it's like, man, there's so many awesome games and I want more time to play them all, which that feeds into the whole replayability thing. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I think I will play those Lunar remastered games because I need a little dose of comfort.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing at all. All right, well, that's going to do it for us this week. Hope you guys have enjoyed this little conversation here as we talk about replayability in games. Like, how do you guys feel about that? Are you playing the same games over and over and over again, or are we trying out new things constantly? Because there's just a little bit of an overflow of new games and new content, new ways of playing it, right? You can check out Itch.io, you got the Steam store, we got every single digital store available. There's just something new to play at all times. And I mean, it is important to look back at the past, right? For conservation reasons, to find new inspiration for new up-and-coming game designers, to see what worked and what didn't work and all that good stuff. But yeah. Replayability is a very interesting conversation, and it really boils down to how much is your time worth, right? It's a very important thing to think about. But anyway, we'll talk to you guys next week with some more games and good stuff. But until then, bye for now.